You boys look like a weird heavy metal band.
Yes, we are a band.
Really?
Yeah.
So what do you play?
Symphonic post-apocalyptic reindeer grinding Christ abusing extreme war pagan phennoscandic metal.
Right. Really interesting.
What's up, everyone? DJ Anubis.
And DJ Neko.
Here with you on the Mealtime Radio podcast with another movie review. This one coming from Well Go USA. This time I have my co-host, my love of my life, my partner, DJ Neko here to do a review with me for this one, mainly because I knew she'd be interested in the topic at hand. Her and I occasionally would get on these discussions about World War II, Pearl Harbor, the Nazis, of course, and Japanese, Japan, and some of the stuff that
Japanese occupation of different territories.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so we are talking about a movie called 731, which is also called Evil Unbound. And it's all based off of a real historical drama. The movie is itself.
It's based off of Unit 731, which was a place where the Japanese did human experiments. And one thing that Anubis knew I would want to watch this because it's something that I always kind of said, we really, I guess as Americans and maybe the world, kind of have given Japan a little bit more of a pass for World War II than we did the Nazis. And I don't know if it was just because it took a while and a lot of these stories about Japanese occupation kind of came out later, or because Japan was really hitting a lot of areas that were quote unquote not as important, like the Philippines and China. And to us, like, Europe was seen as a more important area. But
well, I think the other part is, we talked about the other night when we were watching, is that, once we dropped the bomb on Japan, like when we were pissed off about Pearl Harbor, and we were like, all right, you want to fuck with us? You want to awaken the dragon? Good.
As they say, yeah.
Yeah. I think what happens is because of how massive of an attack that was for us on them and the damage that we created, like we obliterated their areas like Hiroshima and stuff like that. So I think when we look back, everyone's like, wow, man, America's really like, evil in a sense that what we did. And sure, you can argue that we really probably went overboard in what we were doing, but at the same time, it did kind of reset everything. It kind of sent a message at the time that, Japan, you don't want to fuck with us. You don't want to cheap shot us with Pearl Harbor and stuff like that. But the thing that I liked about what Neko has told me, over these discussions is, and she's right, when we talk about World War II and we talk about the atrocities of Germany and the Nazi regime under Hitler, we ignore some of the atrocities and torture stuff that the Japanese did to the Chinese.
And to the Philippines,
yeah,
and to the islanders, the other small areas around there. Oh, hi.
And so 731 really kind of touches on some of this stuff that they did. They were, and as Neko will get into, through some of this, we did discover technology and stuff like that, and how to
vaccines,
germ warfare and stuff like that. But
I think that's also kind of like a reason. Germany was just annihilating a race, and Japan was annihilating their prisoners, but it was in the name of science, so I guess I think there's a couple of reasons, like you said, Anubis. We destroyed two of their big cities, and when we found out about these experimentations, you saw in the movie, as we'll discuss, they documented so much. There's video, there's
and some were even pardoned because of because we got the technology or the information from them. So in a way, that's even worse for us because we actually said, oh, it's okay that you did all these atrocities to these people while we get this technology and information from you. So, but 731 talks about how they put, these Chinese people into this, it's like a bunker.
It's like a prison camp.
Yeah,
literally.
Yeah, it is a camp. And they just start testing different things that when we watch this movie, like some of it's like when they put their arms within like what's the cold nitrogen, and they would like smash their arms off. They're frozen stiff. So this was how they were testing the effects of like hydrogen and nitrogen and stuff like that.
And frostbite.
Yeah.
They were giving fleas the bubonic plague. They were giving rats the bubonic plague covered in fleas.
Yeah,
and then
their plan was to infect the rats and then send them out and drop them off like they were in balloons and dropping them off to infect the lands. That was like their one way of like combating either America or whoever they were fighting against. And so there was one really crazy scene where this woman, I think it was after the nitrogen or close to it, or they were doing something, but they were pulling her skin off of her arms. And I see a kitty cat.
Oh, is she?
She's so nosy.
So, I see it here. So what's really interesting too, the facility itself, they say that there was about 14,000 people. No, ma'am, come on. You can sit with me, but you got to behave. There were about 14,000 people inside the facility. There are no survivors of Unit 731. However, with the information that they learned, and like we were just saying, infecting the fleas with the bubonic plague, they went out and killed up to 500,000 people in China and Southeast Asia through this biological warfare.
Yeah.
So a lot of the information was very heavily recorded and documented too, which is also why it was devastating, but very useful information, especially, if they want to get on the Americans' good side. They'd be like, well, I know we did this and you bombed us, but we've got all this information that can be helpful for you.
Yeah. And so the movie stars, it's directed by Zhao Lishan, starring Zhang Wu, Wang Jiwen, Li Nawen, Sun Quan, and then there's like a bunch of other ones, so I don't want to butcher their names anymore.
Oh shit! Can I? One more tidbit. I didn't even realize.
No, we can go either way because like it's both a movie as well as like the real life stuff.
And I do enjoy historical drama and historical like fiction. This has like a little bit of both of that in it. But after the war, 12 Unit 731 members were tried by the USSR. And I remember there was also Russian people in this prison as well, because you know how large Russia is, and it's like it was in northeast China, or basically is where 731 was. And so they were tried by the USSR, sentenced to prison. However, many key figures were granted immunity by the United States in exchange for their research data, and the Truman administration concealed the unit's crimes and paid stipends to former personnel.
Yep.
It took until 2002 for Japan to formally acknowledge that they conducted biological warfare in China.
Yeah, it says here that director Zhao Linshan spent over a decade researching the film, consulting extensive historical archives, including 8,000 pages of declassified U.S. reports on Unit 731 and 423 hours of testimonies from former unit members. But also, the film was review bombed over in Asia because they didn't like what was being put out there in terms of the information, even if it was like a historical drama movie. But it's like to them, it's like this is bad propaganda to them. Like they don't want people to know.
I mean, do you think that Germans are identifying with Nazis still? Like,
right.
I hope it's been long enough that we've learned.
Well,
but I also think too that since this unit and these war crimes were concealed, and like I said, the extent of, I really don't think we know truly the extent of what Japan was doing.
No.
As much as we did with Germany, because during the time we didn't care. We didn't really care as much as what was going on in Europe until they bombed Pearl Harbor.
Right.
Like, I think that was like, we were like, yeah, they're doing whatever over there.
Yeah, that was the catalyst of basically us really taking a more proactive effort in the war. So Japan was a catalyst for that. But, that's the other thing too is, and why we talk about it is because over the last decade, there's been talk of trying to rewriting history about whether or not Japan actually didn't send their message to us about declaring war before they bombed Pearl Harbor. So we've seen a lot of rewriting of the history there. For a fact, they did jump the gun. And so what I like about this is that we can come back and actually say, yeah, you know what? Japan and Japanese were not very honorable with some of the shit they were doing during World War II. And we need to point that out and address that, because as atrocious as dropping the bomb on Japan was, I still think it doesn't compare to what they were doing to people individually, and to just like, it was far more inhumane.
They like obliterated the Philippines, and
well, just all the things they did. Like, it's just, you're torturing people. Like, you figure, yeah, there were some people in the aftermath of the bomb that had to deal with the radiation and stuff like that.
That was insane. I'm actually reading, I gotta find the book. I was reading it and then I put it to the side, then I put it on my bookshelf and I didn't finish it. It was a guy who went back and interviewed survivors and describing like, so I'll give you one quick example. I know I'm tangenting all over the place, but this is kind of like one of my wheelhouse thing. So Japanese soldiers were trained to look for the American planes. So they would lay on their backs and do so when we dropped the bomb, there were people who were laying on their backs and they were not close enough to be killed by the bomb, but their eyes were open and it basically melted their eyes out. So there were they were just laying there, eyes open, and just reading this is insane.
But my point about this is that for most people, when the bomb happened, they were annihilated. They just disintegrated on impact. But when you think about the shit that the Japanese were doing to some of these people, the Chinese and Filipinos, was that these were long, arduous tortures.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm just, war is dark.
It is.
War is dark.
But that's why I always push back on people that say, oh, bad America this, bad America that. It's like, dude, for one, again, as bad as the bomb was, we pretty much ended it. We ended whatever Japan was thinking of doing and put them out of their misery. So we sent a message, and that's one thing that America always does. We don't fuck around with people. We don't want to be in war, but if you're going to come poke the bear, you're going to get fucked up. That's just the reality of it. But then when you read about some of the stuff, where you watch a movie like this based upon some of the stuff that they did in Japan and to some of these people, it's just abhorrent. It's like, I felt so dirty watching this at the end of it, that
because it was very detailed, very well done, and graphic.
And one thing also is, you don't really realize it because you're watching a movie and you're already invested in these characters. None of them survived.
Nobody in this prison, this experimental prison,
And
survived.
kids too. These were kids
Yes.
too. So,
Women,
yep,
kids.
pregnant women. The stuff that they were doing with pregnant women, just god awful, man, god awful.
So go ahead and kick us off with the plot of this movie. I do know that some of the people portrayed in the movie are based off of actual historical people, and some of the prisoners are kind of based off of
Well, we started.
accounts.
Yeah, we started out with basically our guy Wang Zhangdang, a local vendor, and so he was trying to get a replication of a device that where he could actually piss in it and it would filter it to water you can
It
drink.
was clean. Yeah, he was selling clean water.
But he ends up getting nabbed by the Japanese and taken to one of these camps, and that's of course where the story really picks up because he's there with a bunch of other prisoners. There's some Russians there as well. We learned that there's some Russian prisoners amongst them. There was actually a really cool scene where this young Russian girl is singing a song while she's out in the yard. I'm not sure what the song was. I can't remember like how it went, but certainly it was her just kind of
Trying to survive and trying to.
Yeah, it was sort of like her way rebelling through music, but yeah. So the cinematography in this is great, which I really like too because
The tone of the movie, like the colors were very Jesus Christ, Neko. God. I fed you so you would just go chill, but now you gotta be with mama. I'm sorry, folks. My cat loves me. And her name is Neko too.
she loves just to be involved.
She's a baby. She just baby. Who's baby? Aw. So what I was saying, the color scheme was grimy, right? Didn't you like see it was dark and kind of gritty and dirty? It wasn't like this bright poppy, because it was really trying to portray like this grim, dark existence that the prisoners were going in. And what I also found kind of interesting, especially with like parallels to what we were just speaking of the Nazis, it's like they gathered them all up like cattle, put them on a train, and nobody had any idea where the fuck they're going. They just, they knew that there was a war going on. They just kind of were trying to go on their merry way, and boom, we're on a train. And on the train, we see this cute kid doing his little story with his little magic trick.
Yeah.
And that little magic trick for the longest time is what kept him going, because he was kind of like a favorite of the Japanese. They thought that he was cute and clever, and it's just heartbreaking. God.
Yeah, and this is also like one of these films where like I'm really not going to have a rating for it because it's not. There really is no entertainment value. It's just more of a semi-educational viewpoint of something that happened very tragically.
I mean, I will definitely have a rating because it was a well done movie.
Well, I would
But
suggest people see it, but
I am not like. I don't know if, like, I wanted to watch the beginning. Remember, I wanted to rewatch the beginning because I'm like, how did, like, it just went right into it. Like,
yeah,
I was trying to figure out who these people were, and just fabulous though. Like, I don't want to say like we're not rating it because it's a great movie, well done, well researched, well documented, but I don't know if it's something I would go back to regularly. I'm not saying I would never not watch it again. I'm just saying it's a tough watch. It's like watching Schindler's List. Like,
well, yeah, and again, like I've done this with movies like Salo or Serbian Film, which are vastly different in tone, but again, I would suggest people check them out if you like shock value, and this has shock value as well, but this is more from a realistic standpoint.
and it's like I said, it's a historical drama.
But I couldn't like sit there and say I was entertained per se. Like it's not really, you're not going to feel good about it by the end of it. So
No, you're not. You're going to be.
and like this person said in one of their reviews was, you know, when it first came to the U.S., it made like 175 million its first week. American and Chinese audiences alike love a World War II movie, but in the year where Sino-Japanese relations are tense, Imperial Japan has become the Chinese cinema's favorite big bad. So basically, he was saying, like, who is this film really for? And it really is more for Americans like us or other people that don't know this story. Like he said in his review that the Chinese already know this story. They lived it, you know, as far as like their culture, their history.
And they speak on it. But I think because it was kind of silenced so much, it didn't get the wide distribution like the story. We remember the other night we were watching the documentary on Poland. Like that, I don't know how many photos are out there because the Nazis love propaganda too. So there's tons of photos and we see it. We know what happened in those ghettos. But this, we don't see that as often. And I think that's why you kind of get the shock value because not only are you going to see reenactments of the human experimentation, but you're also saying to yourself, this really happened. And as I was reading in that article, it took Japan until 2002 to actually publicly come out and admit it and say that it happened because they had made a deal with the Truman administration through their research. And it was kind of like silenced because even though it was atrocious, there was a lot of information gathered from that could be used for chemical warfare, biological warfare, and for medical use. So crazy. So go ahead. I'm sorry. I am. This is the DJ Neko show talking about World War II.
No, and you know, you and I were also talking about like it brings to light some other things that we already knew kind of existed between Chinese and Japanese. So like we talked about Bruce Lee and why he had such a hard time with some of the Japanese in his films. There was always this conflict with Japanese, and I think some of that was born out of this animosity for some of the atrocities that Japan did upon the Chinese people. So, and you don't really think about it when you're watching those movies because it's more just about like everyday life. You know, like we said, when the Chinese connection, when Bruce Lee is going to the park, there's a sign that says no Chinese allowed. The Japanese are kind of laughing and mocking him until he kicks their ass and destroys the sign.
But Bruce Lee is American, technically.
Right. But I'm just saying, and his culture and everything, what it means to him. So
poor Bruce Lee, he really felt like a lost soul. You know, he technically was American. He lived in Hong Kong, which was British ruled when he was there. And when he comes to America, he's, you know, you're a Chinaman. But when he's in Hong Kong, it's just kind of like, you know, but he turned, I love Bruce Lee. Love him. We'll have to do a Bruce Lee show one day, a big Bruce Lee show.
Oh, yeah. And for what it's worth, just a side thing, rest in peace, Chuck Norris. Lost a great martial artist and actor.
We got to do a whole Chuck Norris thing. Like, you know what Chuck Norris, I almost cried. Like my phone gives me news updates. I
was getting ready to text you right when you texted me. I was like, because I saw Anthony post, I was like, oh shit, because I knew he wasn't doing well, but I didn't think he was going to die.
Well, I got a news update, and I think my news, everything has an algorithm, and my news knows I love Chuck Norris. And when it said, you know, 86-year-old Chuck Norris has passed away, I was like. And I was in the middle of a meeting, and I was like, I have to go home. Like, you don't understand how much I love Chuck Norris. This is heartbreaking to me. So,
but the movie itself, it centers around our main character, Wang Yaozhang, who can speak different languages. So he gets kind of recruited into translating for the Japanese through this one wench who we never see her die, which is unfortunate because I was begging for a death scene.
She was such a bitch.
Yeah. But he becomes like the guy that pushes the cart down and gives the food to the prisoners because he's able to translate between everybody. But He also has tried to escape a few times. He befriends, like I said, to one guy that they thought was crazy, but he was planning his own escape, and he
had like a little secret codex and a book.
That was really cool too. It was it's like one of those things where you flick through it and it gives you the pictures that move, but it was actually words. That was kind of cool. Again, the young kid who played a factor in the entire movie, and even towards the end, which again was dreadful. But yeah, so the movie really is just a lot of what was happening. It's like, it is great acting. I didn't have any problem with the actors in the film at all. But it's not something you're going to go in and say, "Hey, this is so entertaining." It's more of an educational and an outlook on what happened during World War II from a different perspective, being the Japanese, what they did to the Chinese and Filipinos at that time. So,
well, this was
and Russians
this
too.
was specifically about the Chinese and the Russians, and I think some of Upper Mongolia, like that whole northeast area. It was Japan was kind of doing like its imperial rule at that time. Hey! Nobody wants you to do that. So Japan was doing its imperial rule. It was conquering, like it was conquering the Philippines. It was conquering different areas. And, it was saying this is now Japanese territory. This is now.
So this is interesting. So a South Korean user said that the human experiments conducted by Unit 731 on Asians, including Chinese and Koreans, are among the worst incidents in history. I'm grateful that China stepped up and made this film. I'd love to see it when it's released in South Korea. And then a Japanese user commented that many people in Japan either don't know about past war crimes or think they are someone else's problem. He says he wants to watch the film and hopes that his country properly confront the tragedy of his nation's cause.
And like I said, it wasn't until 2002 that Japan formally acknowledged it, because they got it brushed under the rug from the United States, and they got pardoned by the United States, mainly probably because we bombed the shit out of Japan. And
wow, that plus we got all that information. So it doesn't make us look any better really, because we're basically saying, yeah, we're going to forgive you for all the shit that you did to people, because we want that information. We want all those tests, those results.
Mm-hmm. And also, again, like back then, the Far East was not our problem. Like for us, we were more concerned about Europe. We're like, Europe is more important. So that's why the Nazis, now granted, the Nazis were literally just death camps. I don't want to say at least they were doing experiments. I don't know what's worse. Like, what would be worse? Just killing them and torturing them to kill them? Or,
well, they say that,
I don't know what make, like, how do you justify that? But I honestly think it's because you gotta think this is the 40s. This is a long time ago. We were more concerned about Europe and our relationship with Europe. So for us to, what are you doing? You dance?
All right. Technical difficulties. Oh, we should be better now. Anyway, your final thoughts on 731.
I don't like saying that I liked the movie because it's grim, but I thought it was very well done. They put a lot of thought into the movie, and they really put it out there. They really put everything that they could, the research. I would recommend this movie. I would. I want more people to see the movie, because first of all, it's well done, and it's shot well, it's thoughtful, it's interesting, but it is not like lighthearted material at all.
No.
This is not something that I would, unless you are it is not easy to watch some of these scenes because they really made them detailed and grotesque.
Yep, and they'd say, even what you see in the film, despite it being like special effects and stuff, would not compare to the real brutality that happened during those atrocities. But, some people might say, well, why did you really have to do that? You could have just alluded to the fact that it's like, but no, it wouldn't really send a message to you as a viewer.
Exactly.
Unless you actually saw some of the stuff that was going on.
Yeah, you really need to hit home. You really need to see, even though it's special effects, you really need to see, because it's something in your brain when you see that, that it triggers it.
Yeah, so I would definitely recommend people watch this just if you're, interested in knowing some of the history behind of what, Japan's part was in World War II and some of the stuff they were doing. It just isn't me. I love Japanese culture. I love samurais. I love martial arts. I love kung fu, karate. I love their history, their honor as samurais and stuff. But at the same time, we have to quit, pretending that they didn't have a huge part in some of the gross misconduct that happened during World War II. And the fact that they were working with Germany during that time is even worse. We just tend, like as Neko said earlier, we just tend to focus on the Germans and Nazis for what they did in their part because they were the main aggressors. But the Japanese were right there. They were kind of like the guys underneath that were just slipping by, doing their own thing and doing some pretty nasty shit to, people they didn't like. Like, it's so funny to me when I think about why it is Germany was okay with working with Japan when in the end Hitler would have been like, well, we got to kill the Japanese too. They're not purebred white. So, but it just, again, they just kind of utilized Japan the way they wanted to. And then Japan went and did their own thing. And then they picked their fight with us. And that pretty much hurt them even more.
I think there was a lot of Germany, Italy, Russia, all of that going on during World War II.
Yeah.
Kind of in between. So I don't know, but I am glad that something like this was made because I don't think there are enough people who know about this in particular. And I knew about it just because I'm not a history buff. I'm not a history major. Sometimes real life is more astounding than fiction. This happened in real life. You couldn't make this up. It's real life. I mean, you could, but this actually happened 40 years before I was even born.
And again, not too many people know about it. They just assume they only know the big points in history, with us dropping the bomb and Pearl Harbor, and of course, what the Nazis did with the Jews. They don't really know a lot of some of these other stories that are out there and the information.
Well, it's like I was saying, this Japanese war crimes were suppressed for so long, and I think that's a big part of it. And like you were saying with that reviewer. Because yes, I forgot there were Koreans in the prison too. Because remember, I know a few words in many languages, and I was like, "Oh, that guy's Korean," because I just could hear it. And that Korean reviewer is like, "I'm glad China, had the nerve to put this out there for everyone to see."
Yeah, it takes a lot of guts to do that. And like I said, for whatever reason, early on over there, it went through a lot of review bombing because, again, there's probably still people that don't want, they'll try to say that, the director's trying to bring hate on the Japanese people. It's not really about that. It's about just making sure we understand, that they weren't as innocent as they tried to portray themselves to be during that time. And that's what we're really trying to convey here. Because they did do some crazy shit in those experiments. So,
what year did this movie come out?
Well, it was released overseas in 2025, but just now came to us in 2026. So.
Okay. I honestly, to anyone who wants to see it, like for technical reasons, for storytelling reasons, for like the way it's shot, for the special effects, it is like exquisite. I don't know how, like, I'm kind of with you. I don't know how to rate it because
yeah, I don't really give it.
I don't feel right rating it,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, just say it's like a 10 out of 10 would make it sound like it's the most exciting movie ever. It's not really, to me, it's not something I get entertainment out of, but I feel it's important that people see. So I'd always recommend people do watch it. I probably won't ever watch this again just because it's so dark. And I made the same claims with those other movies that even though they're more fictionalized, they're just so dark that like I don't get any enjoyment out of it. Like it just the stories they're telling are just way too dark for me. This one is important though over the other ones. The other ones I'd say just if you enjoy the cinematography or the fact that directors push the envelope, fine, check them out. But for this one, I would say to check out more than anything else because this actually deals with history. This is more of a historical viewpoint, which is important.
I agree.
But I can't just sit there and say, I won't say it's like a 1. It's not horrible. Obviously, it's not horrible at all, except for the content. But then it's not like a big entertainment thing where I'm going to say, it's movie of the year. I'm not going to do that. It's just there. It's there for something for people to check out and learn from and just kind of understand another side of that part of history.
And I hope people do.
Anyway, tomorrow, Olvin and I are getting together for Silver Screen Savants, and we're going to do a review of the movie from 2003 called Wrong Turn, starring Eliza Dushku from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, if you ever remember that show. Then Sunday, I'm getting together with Jedi Granville on his channel to do a review for the Grindhouse movies with Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino. What is it? I can't remember. One of them's like it's a double feature they had. My mind's just blowing a blank right now. But Monday, getting together with Kevin Lambert to do the top 10 hype trailers of all time. This is something Neko kind of makes fun of me for sometimes because I'll go back and I'll rewatch these trailers I really, really enjoy. Got a really big kick out of them back then. Like
The Watchmen.
Yeah, stuff like that. So Kevin and I are going to go through our top 10 list for that and do that. Ghouls, of course, will come up. I did have my pick. I just don't have it on hand right now. But all right, it's the last video store. That's the one for mine. He hasn't had his pick yet, but my pick for Ghouls this week coming up will be the last video store. Then on Thursday, we're doing Cinematic Synergy with Kevin Lambert, Assault on Precinct 13, the original.
The original.
John Carpenter, yep. And then also Action Film Autopsy with Samurai and Rick Myers as well. So we'll do that later. That's going to close out the month there. And then Neko and I on Saturday, not tomorrow, but the next one, we'll do our top albums of the month and have some goodies that are in there. You heard some of the new Nomos in our intro there, and you're going to hear some in our outro a little bit. So as always, like and subscribe to the channel. We enjoy all the support you give us. Like and subscribe to Neko. She has no channel, but you can still like and subscribe to her on Instagram.
I technically have a channel. If you look me up, I'm not 100% sure. My name on is DJ Neko Cat Freak. I think it's on YouTube as DJ Neko Cat Freak. It might be just DJ Neko, but Instagram DJ Neko Cat Freak and TikTok DJ Neko Cat Freak. But
she's very active on those, so she'll talk to you. I don't talk to people.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll talk to you. Maybe.
As long as you don't harass her. Yeah.
Yeah, I get some weirdos.
Anyway, thanks again. Let us know your thoughts on this movie. Have you seen it? Are you planning on seeing it? How do you feel about it? Just let us know. Keep it nice. Keep it civil. And we'll see you next time on the Military Radio Podcast.